I would like to pass it back to Joan to present class today, assisted living waiver.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Joan Chang. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a staff attorney here at Community Legal Aid SoCal. We serve Orange County and Southeast LA County, and I'm specifically in the health unit. We'll talk a little bit first about who we are and then specifically about the health unit, and then we'll dive into today's topic of assisted living waiver and some additional helpful other programs that might be helpful while being on a potential wait list for the waiver program. Okay. Okay, bear with me. Okay. Let's use the laser pointer. Okay, can y'all see this? Assisted living waiver and then my red laser pointer. Can I get a verbal yes?
Yes.
Okay, oh, I see.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay. If y'all have attended a presentation I've done before, some of the beginning slides will be, well, some of these other slides actually might be some review from past presentations, but a review is always helpful because it's a lot of complicated, funky information. And so it's always helpful to get a refresher. All right, who we are. This is our mission statement. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I like to brag about this. This is our mural on the back of our Santa Ana parking lot, and not a lot of folks get to see it. A lot of our staff actually contributed to this beautiful artwork, so I like to show it off when I can. Our service area is all of Orange County and Southeast LA. We have physical offices in Compton and Norwalk in LA County, and Anaheim and Santa Ana here in OC.
Joan, I'm sorry, but we don't see your
oh, no.
screen.
Oh no. Okay, hold on.
That's okay.
Let me try to stop and then share again. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, let's try this again. Maybe I'll use the pen. Can you guys see the pen? Can I get a verbal yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me see. Can you see this slide that says Community Legal Aid SoCal in purple?
Yes.
Okay, yay. And then you guys see this mural that I bragged about earlier?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay, we're all on the same page. Wonderful. Okay, so our service areas, we have physical offices in Santa Ana and Anaheim. These are all different departments or units or what we call practice areas in law. I'm specifically in the health unit, but just keep in mind, we also do have other units if you have any legal issues in these other areas, and seniors to 60 plus.
Joan, I'm so sorry. We still can't see your screen. Would you like me to share?
Oh no.
I
Okay.
can see the screen.
I can see it.
Oh, really?
I can see it.
Yeah, I
I
see
can
it
see it.
fine.
Oh,
I see it
okay.
on
That's
your-
probably from my end then.
Click
Oh,
on
I'm
Joan's
sorry, Joan.
screen.
Oh, that's okay. Miss Hawk, if you can check to see who doesn't see it. I don't
Okay,
know.
Click on Joan's screen at the top.
thank you.
Okay. Raise your hand. Let Miss Hall know if you can't see my screen. If you can, I'll continue going. But let Miss Hall know if you can't. Okay. These are our our other units. I'm gonna go through this quickly because we have a lot of ground to cover today. We do have, for some of our other services, we do have income and asset tests or limits, but for our health unit services and our senior unit services, again, for our 60 plus population, that could either be for the family member or loved one that you're caring for, or it could be for yourself. If you are a senior, or again, you could qualify for any age for our health unit services. We don't have an income or an asset limit. Okay. I'm going to skip through this because again, we have a lot to cover. Let's go. Hold up. I'm getting the little spinning wheel thing. Okay. Oh no, what the heck? Hold on, folks. Bear with me, technical difficulties. Okay, let's go through. Let's see if I could skip through some of these slides. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, come on. I know. Hold on. Oh, okay. All right, we're here. We provide assistance in Medi-Cal, Medicare, or what we call duals, or what we call Medi-Medi. Sorry, I'm writing this with my mouse here. If you have a covered California plan, dental or dental credit card issues, the IHSS in-home supportive services state program, and also if you have private health insurance through an employer or through off exchange, we can assist in those type of plans as well. These are kind of our buckets of areas of assistance. I want to make sure, are we all on the same page? Y'all are seeing eligibility, benefits, hearings? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
If you ever get denied or terminated from Medi-Cal, Medicare, covered California, that's the eligibility bucket. Once you have this coverage, you know, if you're having barriers to accessing that coverage, you know, that might mean getting denied by your health plan for certain services or delays in your care or not being able to see, you know, adequate network of doctors. Those things fall into our benefits bucket. If needed, you know, filing a hearing appeal, we can represent you in an IHSS, Medi-Cal, or Medicare hearing if needed. Medical billing, this includes both medical and dental bills. Sometimes our clients are just calling us and saying, hey, I got this bill. I don't know if I'm being billed the right amount. Should I pay it? And so we take a look at the bill, look at your health plan coverage and see if everyone was supposed to pay as much as they were supposed to pay. We are the Medicare and Medi-Cal Ombuds Program Service Provider. So if you are a dual eligible, someone who has both Medicare and Medi-Cal and OC, and you're experiencing some problems or access to care issues, give us a call. We also are part of DMHC's Consumer Assistance CAP program. If you need help with filing a DMHC appeal, we can do that. And a proud member of Health Consumer Alliance. It's basically a bunch of other legal aids and other counties throughout the state who have their own health unit, and we talk shop and we meet regularly, and we actually have meetings with DMHC, DHCS, Covered California. We meet regularly with some of these state regulators. Okay. Success stories. We've assisted thousands of folks in making sure they stay or have access to Medi-Cal. Sometimes there's this complicated thing when you are getting bounced back between Covered California and Medi-Cal. We've assisted hundreds of folks in navigating that funky, complex system. This is some past wins, winning medical equipment. I've won a prior client a power wheelchair when initially their health plan denied it. This was for a minor child who was nonverbal, autistic. His speech therapist had recommended like a speech generating device that was kind of like an iPad. The insurance said, no, we're not covering it. You don't need it. We filed an appeal and we were able to get the health plan to pay for it and cover it. This was a client of mine like 4 years ago, I believe. She had a lung tumor and CalOptima unfortunately had denied the lung tumor removal treatment surgery, saying, hey, you have other options, not this one. But we were able to actually represent her in a rehearing because a prior judge said, no, CalOptima doesn't have to pay. But we won at the rehearing and our client was able to get that life-saving lung surgery. I would say over 1 million in improper medical billing and dental billing. There's a lot of, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not, but some of our clients are getting illegally billed. And so we sometimes have to kind of lay down the law and say, hey, knock it off. Don't do that. And participating in a ton of these outreach events and educating y'all so that you know and you're armed with what your healthcare rights are. Okay, oh, we went through that. Okay, so let's talk about it. We use a lot of acronyms in health. I know y'all don't love it, but unfortunately, I will spell out any letters and what they mean, but these are the phrases that Medi-Cal uses and some of the phrases that Medicare uses as well. There's something called long-term services and supports and home and community-based services. Let's talk about each of those. Okay, long-term supports and services. I'm going to give you this information in different visual formats depending on if you're more of a text person, a visual person, a list person. I want to make sure I'm accommodating all learning styles here. Think of this as the large umbrella of the LTSS umbrella, long-term services and supports. That includes nursing home care. I don't like to use this phrase, but this is the phrase that Medi-Cal still uses, institutionalized care. That's what that means. It's when you're in a nursing home. And nursing home care can be divided into skilled and custodial care. Then on the other side of the umbrella is home and community-based care. So these are the services that you get within the home. And these are the services that you get in the community. So we're going to talk about today about assisted livings and board and cares. Technically, this is different from this. This took me a long time to understand the difference, but hopefully after today, y'all will get a sense as to what the difference is. A lot of my clients still make this kind of blur the lines between nursing home and assisted livings. They are different things, different places, and different rules for each of these different places. Okay, so let's talk about it. This is the same information, but again, in a little tree format. Where on this side is the nursing home stuff. On this side is the home and community-based services. And again, today we're going to be talking about assisted living and board and cares. Okay, what the heck is assisted living? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it isn't. It is not a nursing home. All right, so nursing homes, on the other hand, are full-time monitoring and medical assistance. The key word is medical. So if y'all had attended any of my prior presentations, we may have gone through these similar slides before, but maybe a refresher for some of y'all. It's medical. So I always highlight the little cross that's on the nurse's uniform here. At nursing homes, you're going to get nursing care or doctor care, physician care, physical therapy care, speech therapy care, anything that is considered medical treatment. On top of that, you'll also get obviously the things that they include, which is meal assistance, increased safety. I'm not sure what that means. But because you're receiving medical services, nursing services, it tends to be much more than assisted livings. Assisted living on the other side is non-medical care. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you might actually have some of your caregivers be LVNs or nurses, but they're not actually legally required to have any medical, medically certified staff here. So it may include those caregivers, but it's not required. So think of this as, more of non-medical care. You still are getting assistance with all of your activities of daily living. Oftentimes, a lot of these assisted livings are touting their social activities and their social calendar and making sure they're keeping their residents, engaged. And typically it's like an apartment style living. And it's definitely cheaper, but still quite costly. This is not even in California. But this was back in 2021. And I think this was a national average, but it's cheaper than a nursing home. All right. The main difference I want you all to highlight is in nursing homes, you're getting medical care, medical. In assisted livings, most likely you're not getting medical care. They might include some like medication management, and maybe assistance with, insulin injections and things like that. But you're not getting you're not getting a nurse there. You're not getting physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. You're not getting those by assisted living staff. Okay. All right. So for the assisted living waiver, you have housing options. It can be either an assisted living or what we call boarding cares. These are the technical names for it. These are what they legally are called here in the state of California, because each of these names are licensed in this way. But when we call it kind of casually, these are called boarding cares. They're technically called adult residential facilities. Assisted livings in California legally are called residential care facilities for the elderly. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between an assisted living and a boarding care. Assisted living, again, tends to be in a larger building, right? So even these icons are pretty kind of informative. There's lots of windows in this one, and this one less windows, right? Usually boarding cares will be in a smaller home-like environment. So oftentimes it'll be like the back house of someone's, primary residence, or, or vice versa, where like the actual owner lives in the smaller, ADU, and then the boarding care is housed in the larger house itself. The difference between assisted living and boarding care, this is the biggest one, is that typically the staff to resident ratio is higher. So there's definitely more staff, less residents. In assisted livings, again, because there's more rooms and they're larger physical facilities, they may not have as many staff per resident. And the cost usually boarding cares are cheaper. Assisted livings tend to be a little bit more expensive. Okay. Again, keep in mind though, assisted livings and boarding care, you're not technically getting medical treatment. It's not nursing care. It's not physical therapy care. It's not, I'm listing all those things again. None of the therapies that you get at a nursing home, you're not getting it at an assisted living or at a boarding care. Okay, let's kind of talk about, again, summary. Assisted living is not a nursing home. It's not considered institutionalized for Medi-Cal purposes. It's not considered Medi-Cal long-term care. Again, these are all kind of like legal phrases, but I just want to make sure that it's here on the record. I'm an attorney, so I'm going to make sure it's on the record. Again, assisted living is technically considered community-based, even though you're not living in the home. It's because it's not in a nursing home where it's still considered you being part of the quote community. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's talk about the waiver. The waiver itself, what the heck does the state waiver cover? DHCS is the state agency that's in charge of the assisted living waiver program here in California. They pay for the care. Okay, there's different tiers of care, and we'll talk about that in a slide in a minute, but they pay for the care. That's what they pay for. You still have to pay for the room and board. I have to kind of deliver this bummer news to a lot of my clients. It's not 100% free. Unfortunately, with assisted living, you still have to pay the room and board. Those costs are still placed onto you, and it still can be quite burdensome financially for a lot of our clients. But keep in mind, it's still cheaper if you are in the waiver program to have your care paid for than paying it 100% out of pocket, because the average cost of assisted livings in California, again, because we live in this wonderful but pricey state, the assisted living average is about $6,250. So you're still going to be saving money with the assisted living, but technically your your room and board, you have to still pay out of pocket for. Okay. I'm going to pause here for a second to see if any of y'all have questions. I should have said in the beginning, if y'all have questions, I'd rather have you ask them throughout instead of just at the end. But if y'all have any questions, I see a hand up. Katarina, yes.
Few questions. First, based off of this slide, you put 1,420 on there. Is that the average that people would pay with? No, okay.
Yeah, so this is for SSI, for those who have supplemental security income. That's from Social Security. This is a federal program that you have to both medically and for some people, it's just financially qualify for. And for SSI folks, it's a fixed maximum. So you can't be charged more than this amount, but that's only for SSI folks. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Second question was, I had heard board and care facilities are usually unlicensed compared to assisted living. Is that true or no?
No, both are licensed. They're just technically under different rules. But
Okay,
both are
great.
licensed. Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Joan, there's a
Questions?
couple questions on the chat. Would you like me to read
Okay.
it?
Yes, please.
Sure. So Claudia asked, is there one in San Diego County?
Assisted living. Let me see. Hold on. Let me go through the other slides because again, I'm always surprised that we have other counties here. San Diego is here. Yes. Again, we serve Orange County, but these are all the counties who have an assisted living waiver program. Unfortunately, it's not all 50 plus counties in California. It's limited to only these folks. So you should have access to these slides and we'll go over this in a minute. Yes. Sorry, is there more questions?
Yes. So
Okay.
Robin asked, how does this help Sacramento? And what if you don't qualify for Medi-Cal?
Sacramento is here.
It's here.
If you don't qualify for Medi-Cal, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, unfortunately, you're not eligible for the assisted living waiver. You have to be eligible, and not only just for Medi-Cal, but you have to be eligible for free, full scope, without a share of cost, Medi-Cal. I know it really limits a lot of folks, and yet there's still a long wait list for the waiver program, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go back here, folks, because we have. Okay. We got the. All right. I'm just leaving this for you. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there are evaluations on the tiers of care. The state agency will evaluate, how high or how much care that you're going to need and how much they're going to have to pay for. Okay. Keep in mind, you have to make sure you go to an assisted living waiver program that actually participates in the program itself. So in Orange County, these are rough estimates. I couldn't even get like a really accurate information on the number of assisted livings and boarding cares, but there are a ton. But there's only about 150 of them that participate in the waiver program. So just keep that in mind, okay? You can't just assume that any and all assisted livings, wherever you're living, participate in the waiver program. You can only get the state to pay for your care at one of the participating facilities. And so there is a list. Here, where is it? Right here. There's a clickable list here of all the facilities that participate in the waiver program. I don't know how many it is statewide, I apologize, but in OC, it's at least 150. Okay. All right, so let's talk about those requirements we mentioned before. Let's go here. Okay, you have to be 21 and older. Yeah, I'm not going to go into details to why they have that age restriction because there's some overlap with other programs. You also do have to have what we call full scope or free Medi-Cal. You cannot have a share of cost. If you have a share of cost, there may be potential ways to avoid the share of cost. There's a working disabled program if you're disabled. But also if you are already living in an assisted living or a board and care, you do get, and we're going to talk about this in the next slide, a $315 a month deduction because of the room and board that you're paying for. So potentially this deduction might, get you under the income limit and get you that free full scope non-share of cost Medi-Cal. This is a key thing is medically, you do need what they call nursing facility level of care. So someone has to deem you to need nursing facility level of care, but that you are still able to safely reside in an assisted living instead of a nursing home. Okay. Also, you have to be willing to live in an assisted living versus a nursing facility. But this is a big deal. Some of my clients forget that there's actually a medical requirement for assisted living waiver. Again, you need to technically meet this standard of care. And again, it is limited to only these counties. I'm going to leave this slide up for a little bit just so that y'all can capture if this is your county or not. Again, my apologies. I always kind of to remind myself that I'm speaking to folks outside of Orange County too. Okay. Any questions about the requirements at this time?
I have one question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Deborah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I just want to get a little better understanding between this number 3, you need nursing level of care, but that you're able to live in assisted living rather than in a nursing facility.
Yeah.
Can you give examples of, like, my dad has moderate dementia. Can you
Yeah.
give examples of what a doctor needs to kind of see in his patient to be able to fill out that form and say, yes, this individual needs nursing level care, but can live in assisted living environment? Does that make sense?
I have the exact same question, and because
Okay.
I'm not a doctor, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to sufficiently answer your question. What I can tell you is some of the practical questions is sometimes if it just means you convincing a doctor to fill out a form that says, yes, you need nursing facility level of care, and that might suffice for the purposes of a waiver program. It also might just mean what is it? There's these care coordination agencies
Yes.
help you. Yes. So if you happen to have somebody who, you know, already assessed and already determined that they need nursing facility level of care, I wish I can tell you something more definitive than that. So yes.
Okay, no,
All I know
that's
is the legal
helpful.
language. Yeah, I
It just they
apologize.
seem to kind of contradict each other. That if you need
I
nursing
agree.
level care, then you really should have to be living in a nursing facility and
Yeah.
not be able to live in assisted living. But I know what you're saying, and I just
Um,
thought you might be able to provide a little more.
So there are some examples like someone who needs nursing facility level care might be like someone who has like a trach placement, right? But those folks would not be able to safely reside in an assisted living because you can't get trach treatment and care at an assisted living or at a boarding care.
Right. Okay.
Trying to think of other kind of medical examples. Trach. I know that I mean, this is not necessarily going to your question, but there are some assisted livings that may have limitations for like wheelchair users. Yeah, I don't think there's necessarily like a black and white line.
Okay.
And it's outside of kind of my expertise too, but
No problem.
very good question,
I
legit question.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
So,
Thank you, Deborah. Okay.
Jones, there's
Oh yeah,
one question on the chat. It's like Claudia asked, could you please give a definition of assisted living waiver?
The definition of assisted living waiver. Oh, hopefully that's what I'm doing right now through this presentation. This is that state program. Let's go here. The assisted living program or assisted living waiver program is where the state pays for your care. You still have to pay the room and board, but it's a state specific program that actually has to get federally funded too. It gets a little complicated legally, but it's something that California offers to Californians as long as you meet each of these requirements. It's a way for someone to get their assisted living care paid for by DHCS by California. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, if you want to come off mute.
There's another question
Okay.
on the chat from Katerina is asked, are there agencies that help you through this process of applying and searching for assisted living placement?
Yes, there is. I'm going to skip these slides. I'm going to answer that question in the next couple of slides. Yes, absolutely.
And
They are.
also she asked if it's asked from someone in San Mateo County.
Oh, yes, there are. Oh, wait, let me see. Is San Mateo on this list? Yes, San Mateo is on the list. Yes, yes. I will provide the link in these next upcoming slides for all of the statewide agencies. Okay, I'm gonna kind of go over, I'm gonna skip through this because this is kind of the math part and y'all don't necessarily need to know it, but just know that you technically get a standard $315 deduction for when you, because of the room and board that you pay. So sometimes some of my clients who are like really close or like within the income limit for Medi-Cal, within like 315 bucks, getting this deduction, you know, really becomes what's needed to get the free Medi-Cal. I'm going to skip this stuff because it's a lot of math. Just know that the deduction may make or break you. Okay, the application process itself, this is in Orange County, but I also, these links include the agencies for other counties. There are over, at least in Orange County, there's over 20 care coordination agencies. They call them CCAs who serve OC residents, but there's others who apply or who serve multiple. This is just a sample list, but if you click on this list here, it'll give you this like searchable list and you can search it by county. So you could type in San Mateo and it'll pop up all of the care coordination agencies who can help you apply and file the application itself. Okay, let's talk about this. There is a wait list for the assisted living waiver. A client today actually told me she was advised of a 2.5-year waiting period for her. There are limited number of enrollment slots. And currently, I just checked the state website, there's 13,000 people on the wait list right now. Who is given priority on this wait list? So you don't automatically get in if you are one of these 3 folks, but you get put on a shorter wait list. So these are folks, let's do number 1. Individuals who have been residing in an institutional setting. So that includes if you've been in a nursing home or the hospital for at least 60 days and you can safely transition to an assisted living, then you are placed kind of at the top of the list, but not automatically enrolled right away, but placed at the top of the list or in a bucket of the top. The other group is for those who have an imminent need documented by any referral from Adult Protective Services. So if, you know, Adult Protective Services have been called to your home and they've documented that you really need to be placed in assisted living right away, you again get placed to the top of the bucket of the list. And then 3, these are for individuals where immediate need is documented through the long-term care ombudsman. These are the ombudsmen who are at nursing facilities. If they've already documented, hey, this person really needs nursing home place or assisted living placement right away, they can go ahead and make that referral. Okay, well, let's talk about this. While you're waiting, there's 2 potential options for you. There could be other home and community-based service waiver programs because the assisted living waiver program is only one of many on that tree or on that underneath the umbrella. So we can talk about what those other waiver programs are. And then there's something called Medi-Cal Community Supports, and we're going to dive deeper into this. This is a fairly new, underutilized benefit for Medi-Cal beneficiaries. And I think it's important to get the word out and bug your Medi-Cal plans about this benefit. So let's talk about it. All right, so number 1, let's talk about what other home and community-based service waivers there are. This is super intense. Again, I'm just going to give you, this is the same information as the tree and the umbrella, except this is just in a list format. There's other different programs. This is just the list. This next slide, I like to call this my cheat sheet. If you all have attended a previous presentation of mine, I refer to this as my cheat sheet. It kind of just gives like a 1 to 2 sentence summary or keywords of each of these programs that are here in California. And so I'm not going to go over it because there's a lot and I can spend probably an hour on each of these other waiver programs. But just to kind of highlight, some of these are the ones that you can receive in the home. Some of these are the ones that you can receive in the community, which also includes CBAS, which is the adult health daycare. So you can have Medi-Cal pay for your adult health daycare. There's also the PACE program where it's kind of like a all-in-one PACE center that you go to during the day. You can't see your old doctors, but within Orange County, you have to live within certain zip codes to be eligible. But the PACE program and the PACE centers are kind of like a all-in-one, one-stop shop place. Again, and we could talk about IHSS and other programs too, but just know that there are other options while you're waiting for the wait list. Because again, the wait list can be several years. So utilizing these other waiver programs you can do once you are off the wait list and you're enrolled into the assisted living waiver program. Most likely you're going to get kicked out of one of these other waivers because you can only be in either the assisted living or one of these others. Okay, let's talk about Medi-Cal's community supports. Okay, I'm putting these in quotations because these are kind of the phrases you're going to want to use when you contact your Medi-Cal plan. In Orange County, our Medi-Cal plans are Kaiser and CalOptima. These are the phrases that you want to use when requesting for these services. It's called community supports, and there's a bunch of different types of community supports, but this is the one that you're going to want. Okay, so let's talk about it. Here's the long list of the many community supports. I'm keeping the list on here. I know it seems like a lot, but I want y'all to be very aware of these. These are community supports. If you have full scope, free, no share of cost Medi-Cal, you potentially might have access to these community supports. Not a lot of people know about these community supports. Sometimes it's being advertised, but people don't see it, or maybe the plans aren't really advertising it. But these are all available to you. Just FYI, some of these include like respite care. It also includes like home modifications if you need like a ramp in the home or shower handles. It also includes like medically tailored meals. So I'm not going to highlight too much of these, but the one I'm going to highlight today, because it's related to the assisted living waiver, is this one. Okay, so let's talk about it. This is called the Community Supports Assisted Living Facility Transitions. Again, you don't have to memorize it, but you will have these slides available to reference. You're going to want to ask your Medi-Cal plan for community supports, and the type of support is assisted living facility transition. The eligible programs or eligible populations are the following. Number one, if you are currently in a nursing facility and you've been there for 60 days, and again, it's very similar to the waiver program, the assisted living waiver, but residing for 60 days in a nursing facility, you're willing to live in an assisted living and you're safely able to reside in an assisted living. So that's population one, for those who are currently in a nursing home at this time. Then there are those who are in the quote community. So this is someone who is living at home. I should just write this down. Living at home. Okay, you're living at home and you're willing and able to and safely able to reside in an assisted living. And you receive medically necessary nursing facility level of care, all of this stuff that, you know, Deborah, I wasn't able to really answer your question, but this is that same requirement, the nursing facility level of care. Okay, so again, you don't necessarily have to be currently living in a nursing home to be eligible for this community support. You can also be living in the home, but potentially at risk for being placed in a nursing facility. Okay. So let's I'm providing this super handy dandy Canner, the California Advocate for Nursing Home Reform. Their org has a wonderful, amazing community supports brochure. It breaks down all of these community supports, like there's a page dedicated for each of these. So it goes into more detail about each of these community supports. And there is a page, and here it is, on the assisted living facility transition. It's the same thing as the waiver. Medi-Cal will pay for your care. You still are responsible for your room and board. I highlight this because the state is actually encouraging Medi-Cal plans to offer this to members who are currently on the wait list. So think of it as assisted living waiver while you're waiting. But instead of the state directly paying for it, it's your Medi-Cal plan that's paying for it. And again, in Orange County, you either have CalOptima as your Medi-Cal plan or Kaiser as your Medi-Cal plan. I'm not going to read the details of this. This is really not a lot of folks know about this. And if you call CalOptima and call Kaiser, I haven't done this yet with a client of mine, but I'm a little worried that they may not know what this program is. So I think the best thing to do is calling and inquiring about this so that plans like CalOptima and Kaiser and whatever Medi-Cal plan you have in your county are better equipped to handle these requests, because this is a community support that's currently being underutilized because not a lot of folks know about it. And I don't know if it's because it's not being well advertised or what, but this is available. I can't guarantee it's available in every county, because some of these community supports may not be available in your particular county by your particular plan. There is a list, I will find it and put it in the chat afterwards, of which plans provide which community supports. But in Orange County, this is definitely provided. This is definitely one of the, Kaiser provides it and CalOptima provides it. So again, think of this as assisted living waiver while you're on the wait list. It's essentially paying for the same type of care, but you still have to pay the room and board. Okay, I'm putting in here for our Orange County folks. Well, even for, I think this form for Kaiser's for all of Southern California, but there is a community supports referral form. And CalOptima has their own referral form for community supports. There's checkbox forms. So if you click on the links, it'll checkbox to kind of like highlight the requirements. You don't technically need a doctor's referral. You can refer yourself. And then, the plan will do their own assessment as to whether or not you are eligible for the program. So keep that in mind. If you don't necessarily have to get like a doctor's prescription in order to get the referral, you can self-refer. Okay. This is a question that's being asked. We've been talking about this wonderful, great program called the Assisted Living Waiver. But I have to advise my clients legally. They have this question: do I have to worry about paying California back for assisted living waiver costs? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. The assisted living waiver is one of those programs where they are subject to Medi-Cal estate recovery. So for all that, the care, let me see, remember Medi-Cal is paying for your care, and then you still pay the room and board. The care costs for the assisted living waiver program is technically recoupable by the state. I'm not going to go into detail about this because I could spend a whole hour on Medi-Cal estate recovery, but just know the basics of Medi-Cal estate recovery is that only certain types of estates are recoverable. Many types of assets are exempt from recovery and from getting recouped. And with the right estate planning, you may very well be able to avoid estate recovery and not have to pay back California for those assisted living waiver costs. Again, I could do a separate presentation on Medi-Cal estate recovery alone. It's a really interesting and deep topic. Okay. All right, this is more of the practical stuff, and this may apply to you and your family member or the person you're providing caregiving to. How do I spot a person who may need the assisted living waiver? A lot of these probably apply. Needing a lot of help at the home, declining health, becoming disabled, or an existing disability worsening. This is not an exhaustive list, but some of my past clients who applied for the assisted living waiver, had these diagnoses. You know, what I'm kind of looking out for is when I hear a family member who says, hey, I don't know how long I can continue taking care of so-and-so. If they've been recently discharged from a nursing home, or they want to stay at home to avoid being placed in a nursing home, needing 24-hour supervision. These are the types of things I'm looking out for. And if I hear it, I want to think assisted living waiver, assisted living waiver. Okay. This is how to reach us here in Orange County. We serve, again, Orange County and a sliver of Southeast LA County. You can call our 714 number, and I think you press 3 to get to the health unit. These are other specific Know Your Rights topics that we could come back. I think we already did some of these presentation topics in the past, and some of them are pending in the future for next year too. And then if you want to, I'm always open to feedback. I know I threw a lot of info at y'all, but I want to make sure I covered ground and also had time for questions. Feel free to fill out the survey with the barcode. Okay. All right. Any questions? I see Katarina, your hand is up.
Yeah, I can read what Veronica had asked a similar question in the chat, which is, does paying back still apply if you have one single home in the trust for recouping costs?
Yeah, so again, I would still need to get everything. Typically, I'm not trying to provide legal advice, you know, over our presentation, but typically, trusts, property and assets that are in the name of a trust typically are exempt and are safe from Medi-Cal estate recovery. But you have to make sure that the property is actually listed into the trust. A lot of my clients have a trust and they don't actually put any assets under the name of the trust. And so just the fact of having a trust doesn't protect you. But yes, if a home is held in a trust, yes. And I'm going to include this here. Maybe I'll include it here. I'll put in the chat a super helpful estate recovery brochure from Canner. Okay.
I think this one question from Veronica asks, what if you don't qualify for Medi-Cal? What other ideas for paying assisted living?
Ooh, there are, like I said, if you're thinking about between an assisted living and board and cares tend to be cheaper. You know, I've had some of my clients who weren't eligible or for whatever reason, they weren't eligible for Medi-Cal. Board and cares tend to be cheaper than assisted livings in terms of cost. And honestly, some of my clients prefer board and cares because for one of my clients, for example, they had a board and care that they really loved because they had staff who spoke Vietnamese, and the other assisted living that they toured, they didn't have someone who spoke the language. And so it may just very well be that they feel more comfortable in a, you know, a board and care environment than a assisted living. I'm trying to think of other kind of options. I know that the Caregiver Resource Center did I think like a long-term care presentation. I think it's on YouTube on your website. And if you fast forward through it, it may talk about kind of other options. But yeah, assisted living. Also, if you happen to have already or purchasing a pricey long-term care insurance, some long-term care insurance policies may cover assisted livings. The problem with these insurance policies are that they're really expensive. They cost a lot of money each month in premiums. Some of my past clients, they've like were grandfathered into it from like a former employer that they worked for a long time. Not a lot of employers these days offer long-term care insurance, but some old school ones still do. Yeah, let me, I'm gonna go into the chat so that I can start putting things in the chat. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, but are there more questions?
That's one question from Katerina. Oh, actually, she has three.
Oh,
So the
okay.
first first question she asked, in California, what's the monthly income access limits to qualify for full scope Medi-Cal? And
Yeah.
number,
Yeah. Oh, I see it. I see it. Let me read
oh,
it.
you see it? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Ha. Okay, in California, so for a single person, okay, so let me write this down. So for a single person, maybe I'll just say it out loud. If a single person is $1,801 per month. For free Medi-Cal, for full scope Medi-Cal, and you need free full scope Medi-Cal to be eligible for the waiver. The asset limit is coming back. So for Medi-Cal, currently there is no asset limit, but starting January 1 of 2026, unfortunately, we're going back to the days of asset tests. So for a single person, it's 130,000. And it's a little bit more complicated for married couples. There's something called spousal impoverishment where you could have a little bit more in assets. But for a single person, it's 130K. And there's, again, it's a complicated answer to a simple question. There are certain assets that are not counted or they're exempt. So it gets a little complicated. So if you want like a really detailed full assessment, give us a call and we'll be able to do a proper individualized assessment for you and your family. Okay, number 2, does the waiver apply to assisted living that graduates to memory care? Yes, memory care can be included. The state can pay for memory care as well. Yes. I think that kind of goes towards some of the different tiers. Number 3, clarification, community supports requires full scope. Yes, great question. Number 3, yes. If you have share of cost Medi-Cal, you would not have I don't think you would have access to community supports unless you met the share of cost for that month. But regularly doing that is tough for a lot of clients and beneficiaries. So the easy answer is technically no, but practically yes. You would need full scope. Okay. Veronica, for the working disabled program, do you have the income amount of it allowed to still? Yes. Again, I can do a whole presentation on working disabled, and so I don't want to go too much into it, but yes, if you're in Orange County, Veronica, give us a call and we can screen you and your family member for the working disabled program. Let me put in the chat also our Health Consumer Alliance. If you reside in another county outside of OC, I'm gonna give you the number that you can call. Basically, the equivalent to me and Community Legal Aid SoCal, but in your county. Okay, sorry. Deborah, you have a question. Should we be concerned about the changes happening at the federal level that may affect whether or not enough funding will be available? That is a very legit question. Yes. These waiver programs are, quote, optional. Currently, they're still being funded. But because of all these budget cuts that are happening, there may be a scenario where California gets rid of some of these waiver programs because they are technically optional programs to be offered by states, and we may not have enough funding for them. I mean, there's already a lengthy wait list for the program already, but you're right, there may be a situation in the future where this program disappears altogether. Yes, that's unfortunately the climate that we currently live in. Okay, let me put some stuff in the chat for some of our non-OC folks. Contact. Okay. Any other questions that I hopefully can answer while I'm still looking for some of these links to put in the chat?
Yeah, you can raise your hand or put it on the chat, question for Joan. If not, then,
Okay.
thank you so much, Joan.
Yes, okay, so this is outside of Orange County. If you need some legal aid assistance with the health unit in your county, give the Health Consumer Alliance a call. What was the other thing? I was gonna include Canner's amazing Medi-Cal estate recovery brochure.
Joan, there's a question from Tracy.
Oh, okay.
She said, my mom has Medi-Cal but not on assisted living waiver. Would I contact you, your office, Joan, or reach out to care coordination agency for the next step?
So if she has if there's full scope Medi-Cal folks are already kind of financially eligible for the assisted living waiver, you can contact one of the care coordination agencies directly. But if you're not sure if mom is eligible for full scope or share of cost, that's when perhaps we can provide some assessment, personalized assessment.
And then Alexander asks, how do we contact you?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Let me go back to that slide. Again, if you live in Orange County, let me go back to the slide. I'll just put it in the chat. I think that might be easier. Okay, hold on. I have lots of things. I want to make sure I'm answering all of your questions. Medi-Cal estate recovery brochure. Okay, I put that in the chat, and then also if an OC, you can call 714-571-5200. OC Community Legal Aid SoCal. Okay. Okay. Did I include everything we wanted to include? I hopefully answered everyone's question. Did I miss any questions?
No, I think that you answer other questions. Does anyone have any questions before we locked up?
I knew I threw a lot of info at y'all, and we covered
Yeah.
a lot of topics, so it's hitting a lot of great questions.
Thank you so much, Joan. It's very informative class, and I'm sure there's a lot of questions. But like Joan said, everyone have any question, please feel free to call her office. She have a number on the chat, or even if you don't remember her number, you can call us and we'll refer you.
Yeah. If you're outside of Orange County, click on that healthconsumer.org website, and then I think what you do is you call a number, you enter your zip code, and it'll transfer you over to the legal aid that serves your county. Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you for everyone's patience. Happy Friday. I know it was a lot
Thank
for a
you.
Friday afternoon. Take
Thank
care
you,
of yourself.
Joan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.